Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, I'm going to be kicking the ball over to John, Randall, and I. We got the whole trio here for a mostly video game focused, actually pretty much strictly video game focused Save It for the Cast conversation here. And because of that, and because I've had a super busy week, partly gearing up, not that I've done so much, but mostly just kind of brainstorming and gearing up for our second annual Pursuing Pixels James Jam Game Gam. I'll make sure to put a link to that. But yeah, last year's was just so much fun. We're doing that to celebrate our 4-year anniversary coming up, which is crazy that it's been a year since the last Game Jam and 4 years since we started up the podcast. So we will hopefully be doing some kind of anniversary edition of the episode, like podcast episode as well. I don't know exactly what we're going to do for that. We were actually just brainstorming some of that when we sat down for a session the other night. And yeah, really the only game that I've been playing. I know I usually like to kind of like lead these episodes off with some of the stuff that I've been playing, but I've been playing a bunch of Everybody's Golf, which I talked about on last Save It for the Cast, but I sat down, we recorded an episode just the other night that'll be out in a few weeks where I kind of dig into that game a little bit more. I will say, just following up from the previous Save It for the Cast, that I can definitely give this game a pretty wholehearted endorsement at this point, apart from the fact that, and I say this on the regular episode too, so pardon me for repeating myself when that comes around, but I can pretty much, just give it the wholehearted endorsement apart from the fact that it's kind of like a dead game at this point, like all the online functionality and tournaments and all that stuff ended as of September 2022. But apart from that, it's pretty much been exactly what I wanted from like that Mario Golf, what I wanted from Mario Golf Super Rush and just kind of in Mario Golf in general. It's got very much, it's different in its own ways in a lot of regards, but it's pretty, my skills and, just knowledge set from playing so much of those Mario Golf games and a little bit of the Hot Shots Golf series growing up. Like, I just feel like that was able to so directly translate just a, slight learning curve of like, okay, that's how much the putts break, or that's how, that's just how much the wind comes into effect in this game or whatever. But it's really, it gets pretty tough. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to be digging into that on a future episode proper of the podcast with Randall and John. And yeah, I actually end up just talking about a bunch of the demos that I've been playing on the actual like Save It for the Cast conversation coming up. John actually also played some GunSuit Guardians with me, which is the new game from our buddy Matt Glanville, who's actually been on the podcast before. It actually got me firing up some of his previous games, Ghost Grab 3000. That's really the only other game I've played other than Everybody's Golf since, probably for the last 2-3 weeks, just because I'd played some GunSuit Guardians. And then sitting down to edit this episode, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that John played some of that too. And then I was like, oh, I forgot how good Ghost Grab 3000 is. I made some comparisons to it in GunSuit Guardians. So I was like, okay, I got to refresh my memory with that game. I was actually trying to chase down our buddy Arpy, who's in the Discord and just been a longtime friend and fan of what we do here. And like, I was like, maybe I'll try climbing those Ghost Grab 3000 leaderboards a little bit. And like my high score on the hardest stage is like 80,000 or something like that, and Arpy's at like 215,000 or 14 or something. And I'm like, man, he's pretty close to Matt Glanville himself, the developer of the game. So I'm just like, this is just wild. I don't think I'm ever going to catch up to that. Although the score does seem to kind of multiply like the further you progress or the longer you can last. It's just a matter of lasting long enough. So yeah, I really have not been doing really any other gaming beyond that. But like I said, I've played a ton of other cool demos, so I'll be leaning into that once the conversation picks up here with John, Randall, and I in just a second. But yeah, just ton of awesome indie games coming out, and just been a pleasure to play them as of late. But yeah, to actually keep it short and sweet for once on one of these intros, I'm going to leave it there and toss the ball over for the rest of the Save It for the Cast conversation. And until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. But yeah, I don't know. How do we want to break this down? How are you feeling on the eShop stuff, Randall? There's no pressure to talk about that, but I'm down to if you want to.
Yeah, it'd probably be like an end mushy sort of let's yell just at Nintendo kind of like some more sort of thing.
Yeah. Kind of one of Nintendo. And it can kind of pair. I can pair that with like the Switch Online retro stuff. I know we've been talking about that a decent amount on the last few episodes, but happy to do more of that. Because otherwise, like, I know we've all played some Demon Throttle, but we can just table that for another time.
We could also do it as a save it for the cast section, and then it could get slotted earlier.
True.
If
that's true. Yeah,
probably not early enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always good to have stuff like that in the back pocket when we're like, oh man, let's do a double. Like, let's throw Demon Throttle on the table or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to do whatever. But yeah, otherwise, like, I've just been playing like some demos. Like, I know, John, you checked out that GunSuit Guardians.
Dude,
I got pretty hooked. I played 3 quick runs. I was like, oh man, because I played a bunch of Ando OSAT games. You know, Spear DX and Go Pogo Girl just put out a new game.
Nice.
Chibi Ninja Shino-kun, Treasure of the Demon Tower. If I'm not mistaken, I think I might have that slightly wrong, but I started streaming that and I played for beat the first world and a half, and there's 20 stages per world, just like a precision platformer. I shouldn't say just. It's like a really cool precision platformer, kind of lightly puzzly, I was saying Ando jumped into the chat at one point a little bit later on because I played first world and a half and I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump over to a different game, and then Ando was jumped into the chat and was like, oh dang, you're already done with you're already on the second world, and I was like, oh Ando, you're jumping in right now. I was like, if nobody has any objections, I was like, I'm gonna keep playing some more of this if Ando's just showing up.
Yeah.
So I ended up finishing off the third world, so I beat played another world and a half after Ando jumped in.
Nice.
And it is an incredible game, and I was just like, this kind of rounds out a really wonderful trilogy of games between Go Pogo Girl, Spear DX, and then this one. It seems like there's going to be 5 worlds with 20 stages each, all about precision platforming. You got your ninja with a double jump, wall jump. The wall jump's really specific too. It feels almost like rhythm game status. You really got to hit it at the right time, and it might be frustrating for a second or two until you get used to it, but then you're like, oh, that feels nice. It feels really nice to bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
But then you have a upwards grappling hook rope that you can throw, and you can kind of cling to the ceilings, and then you can just run along the ceiling if you're as long as you want. And then with your double jump, that recharges either every time you do a wall jump or every time you cling to the ceiling or whatever. So you're getting to recharge that double jump so often, and it's got those Sega Master System, Mega Drive / Genesis vibes going on. Oh man, I just had a blast. But then after that, I was like, well, okay, so since I played way more of that than I expected, I was like, our buddy Matt Glanville just sent over a few copies of that GunSuit Guardians for all of us. So I was like, you know what? I was like, the demo just came out, and then he sent over the early access version. He was like, it's pretty much the demo, but just with a few things, a few features that are not in the demo or whatever. But yeah, I ended up playing 3 long runs, and it's a Vampire Survivors inspired. I remember in the Discord that Matt Glanville has, I remember him saying oh, I really kind of want to make a Vampire Survivors inspired thing, and I was like, man, don't jump on the bandwagon. Everybody's trying to make their version of that or whatever. And now that I'm playing it, I'm like, oh, please, thank you.
That is
I've talked about it on a couple episodes to save it for the cast. It's it's this game that just blew up out of nowhere. It was a $1 or $2 game initially, and now it's on Game Pass. I think it's only $5.
Oh, it is still, on Game Pass. Okay,
it's called.
It's visually
that's how
I
played it. Yeah,
I can't even make heads or tails of what I'm looking at.
It's the ugliest looking game. It's so gaudy and garish, but actually playing it in action. I think I said this on the Save It for the Cast when I talked about it, but I was like, because I talked about some other game that was inspired by it, and I was like, okay, I gotta actually play this game that has been, especially since I have it on Game Pass. So it's they call it Bullet Heaven is kind of the pun that they call it instead of Bullet Hell. Okay. And you kind of just keep, just like in GunSuit Guardians, you keep getting upgrades and buffs, and your character just kind of auto fires essentially, and it's just top down, and you just become more and more powerful and keep stacking your upgrades and just kind of mow down enemies mindlessly. But the fact that this one adds in a dash mechanic and twin stick aiming and just a little more depth to the mechanics, and I just like the aesthetics a little bit better. Matt Glanville's always got those really chunky, juicy, bold pixels and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's got that similar aesthetic to Dungeon Death Ball and what's the other game? Ghost Grab 3000. It's got kind of a similar aesthetic, even kind of similar gameplay to Ghost Grab 3000, to be honest. So I went from being oh no, Matt, don't make a Vampire Survivors wannabe game, and now I'm like, oh please, give me more of this game. Dude, why is it only in early access?
It was super, and so much so that when I saw the proposed roadmap of like additional features or whatever, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to play any more of this game. Like,
I didn't look at the roadmap, so I'm curious.
I mean, it's more levels, more abilities, more progression. Like, it's just more, but like, it's all like the stuff that I was like if it was a complete game, I would be playing it to completion, like 100%. But like, knowing that there's going to be more of it and it's going to probably go through a couple more iterations, I was like, oh yeah, like I got a taste. I know this is exactly what I want from it. Like I want to play the final version of it now.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. That was why I held off so long on Dungeon Death Ball in early access, because that one was in early access for a really long time. And then he reached out like right before it was coming out and he's like, it's pretty much done. He's like, but I really want some feedback from you guys. He's like, if you don't mind having, playing it or whatever. I was like, hey, I don't mind at all. Yeah. And I was like, now that you're telling me that it's almost done, I was like, that's really the only reason I haven't played it already. But yeah, having, just played a little bit of this, I was like, man, if this is like your rough draft for this game, like this is sweet, sweet stuff. Just, more bullet hell awesomeness. Yeah, I'm just such a huge fan of Matt Glanville. Just such a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
Kind enough. He was like, hey, I want to send over a copy. I got to make sure I text DJ too. He sent over 4 copies. So
nice.
And he still listens to the podcast all the time. I messaged him. I was like, oh man, it's been so long. And he's like, it has been a while. He's like, I feel like since I listen to the podcast every week, I'd talk to you guys all the time. And I was like, oh man, that's cool. I was like, I mean, I knew he used to listen, but I was just assuming, people probably get busy and can't listen all the time. So
that's awesome.
It's just cool that most of the people that listen to our show are like the people who make games that we like.
Right.
So pretty cool.
It's good community.
But yeah, I was really pumped on that game. Like I ended up having that was such a great way to wrap up that stream. I was like, oh man, I kind of want to play more, but my back's hurting me.
Yep.
I redeemed the code, so I'll see if I can
baby.
fire it on my Surface. We'll see what happens.
Beautiful. It ran on my laptop pretty good while streaming, so that's saying something. That's definitely saying something.
Yeah, because that's I don't know. It's a small game, but that's a lot of like sprites,
a lot of pixels, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I never got past the first boss. I don't know how far you made it.
Yeah.
Like that was where I died each time. I came pretty close.
My last run, I encountered the boss for the first time. Like
same here, or maybe the second time. I can't remember now, but
I started like doing more things, and as I was doing more things, like things that I was specifically avoiding in earlier runs, I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. And then seeing more mechanics and getting way more excited for those more mechanics, I was like, oh man, no, this is gonna be a great final project.
Yeah, and a great sign with it being in early access, and it's like the demo's out and everything, and like I was just reading the updates on Steam, and like apparently like the thrusters are like kind of like the dash boost mechanic. I don't think that was actually in the game initially. Like
nice.
I saw like an update on Steam and it was like update, version 3.0.36 or whatever, like the people have spoken, thrusters have been added into the game or whatever. So I was like, okay, nice. So like, and I would say that's like one of the most fun mechanics of the game is like, cause you're like wait until everything kind of swarms in on you, and it does to the best that I can tell, it makes you invulnerable for a brief moment. You get some invincibility frames. So like at first I didn't think so, but I was like, oh, okay, it does. So you can just like wait until you're getting enemies swarmed at you, and like there's a bunch of different like one of the special abilities you can get is like kind of dropping off like a little dummy drone or whatever, so you can drop that off and then enemies start swarming towards that for a certain number of seconds. There's like nice. All like you pick a starting character, a starting weapon, and a starting special ability. And right now in the early access, maybe there's less in the demo, I don't know, but there's 3 characters you can pick from, kind of similar to how Ghost Grab 3000 worked, where like each kind of like mech you could pick had like slightly different stats, slightly different speed, slightly more health, less health, like just different balances of characters. And it looked like there were going to be 3 more characters added down the line. So, but yeah, just knowing how much he polished up, because I remember seeing some really early gameplay, like GIFs and videos of Dungeon Death Ball, and it's like rough around the edges. Still looks really cool, but like going from the final product to that, it's like, oh man, okay, so seeing where this game's at, GunSuit Guardians, in this current state, and like, oh man, this is the early state, this game's going to be awesome.
Dude,
nice.
Like my other friend, I'm friends with so many Mikes. Mike Cecina, and I have to say both of their names because I know all of their mics. But he's been working on a game too, and like he just sent me like one of the most recent builds of it, and like remember like the first version of it. I'm like, this game is almost unrecognizable from like the first version, and I'm like all, the mechanics are still the same, but like the iterations it's gone through is just like, good God, like so much work goes into these. And like I know that like the I don't know, like people like only want to show like the most polished versions, or like, oh, here's a demo, and it's like seems like a finished game. And
it's
like
basically just like a slice of the game that's already done. You know?
Right. But like, man, like seeing like something from like absolute like zero and conception, and like seeing it get polished over time and time and time again, it's like incredible to watch that. Because like it's, when we're like writing a song, like we don't like, you don't see every like the dozens of times where we fucked up on the same thing. Like
yeah, or like couldn't get that part right, or couldn't figure out the transition.
Exactly. Like yes, like, and but that's just so much of what making anything is just like having rough versions and then having it get polished over time, and it's so fun to see. I love it.
Yeah, I definitely love that. Yeah, I guess just real quick while I'm talking about some random stuff that I streamed too, I also checked out the demo for this game ShovelFall, which originally was a game called Fall and Shovel, which was made for a game jam. I can't remember if it was Ludum Dare or Game Maker's Toolkit, but it was one of the bigger game jams, and it was kind of like this precision platformer with this cool like kind of ASCII art retro like style, but it's like a side-scrolling platformer. And with the ASCII art, like your first instinct is like, oh, procedurally generated levels and whatever, but actually it's not. It's like handcrafted levels. And Fall and Shovel was really awesome. You're like just this shovel that is constantly bouncing at all times, and then you can hold down a button to like kind of do like a charge, like super mega jump. And that was like the main mechanic, and that mega jump would like break certain bricks, or it was almost like a little like mini explosion. But anyways, the developer like has gone on to like start working on a, you know, follow-up or successor to that game. It's just called ShovelFall, all one word. But like they got a couple people to work with them on this one. So they got this artist Sinclair Strange to work on the pixel art, who's like a pretty well-known retro pixel artist, I think. They definitely do like 8-bit style. Like I had seen some of their stuff on Itch.io and whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're on this. And then DDR Kirby, which is that's just their handle online. I don't know what their actual name is, but they're working on this game called Rhythm Quest, which they're doing the music and gameplay for, just doing everything for, I think. But I saw they were doing the soundtrack for ShovelFall, so I was like, oh man. And it's from the developers Silkworm Games, and they made this game Super Mega Zero, which on top of already loving Fall and Shovel or whatever the Game Jam version was called, I was like, okay, I love Super Mega Zero. I love pretty much everything this developer's done that I've touched. So I was like, I got to check this game out. And they even tagged us on Twitter. They're like, hey, our demo's out. Check it out. And I was like, oh man, thanks for letting me know, because I would have totally missed this.
Right.
And that demo was fucking amazing. Like the pixel art, the chiptunes, just out of control. Like it's got like it's definitely widescreen, but it's got almost like a Morph Cat style.
Yeah. Like
NES style look to it, like really rich pixel, like kind of bobble aesthetic, but like more on a micro scale, like where it looks like those Micro Mages size sprites. Like it looks like an NES game, but obviously could not run on the NES.
Sure.
The demo was just it was so good. Like I kept thinking like, oh, I'll stop after this level or after this stage. And you're just basically, this shovel like falling down from heaven down and like just digging deeper into the depths of hell. But it's all handcrafted levels and just really tight. There's a bunch of new mechanics added. Like you get these like little angel shovels that give you a double jump, or maybe you just bounce off them. I can't remember, but oh man, I was just like that. So awesome. And then I was played this other precision platformer called Soda Powered Penguin. This game, I'm probably going to talk about it on a Save It for the Cast intro too, because like it's this legit. Like I already thought it looked awesome, and then I played the demo. I was like, this is my most anticipated game, period. I mean, I love my precision platformers, but like kind of like a Celeste inspired platformer, for lack of a comparison, but just precision platformers with a bunch of collectibles, but kind of more open ended stages, more like Yoshi's Island style. But kind of more
Your
like there's a lot of Sonic style stuff going on with like loop-de-loos. I know a bunch of my favorite games all wrapped in one, which actually, funnily enough, I might talk about that when we talk about the retro stuff later.
I legitimately do like both of those games.
But and then it even had a little Wario Land 4 action, because I got to the end of the stage. I was thinking, oh, there might be some Super Mario World stuff going on. There were like these green exclamation point blocks. I was like, maybe I have to do something in a different stage or in like the overworld hub. It's kind of like Kirby style where there's like a hub and then you go into a door and then that's like a stage. So I was like, maybe I have to do something. But then I like got to the end of the stage or whatever, and it triggered like, oh, you got to get to the exit like super fast, and all those blocks like switched on and switched off. And I had this whole new path that I had to race back to the beginning, Wario Land 4 style. But the way this works, like when I first booted it up, like I was really pumped to check it out because I really just liked the pixel art and seen a bunch of clips on Twitter from the developer and was like, this game looks really cool, looks fun. But then when you first play, you play as this penguin with like a 2-liter soda strapped to their back, which I didn't realize from the clips, like that's why it's soda-powered penguin. And that's actually how you like do your dash, is like you're just like, I guess that soda is just like launching you either up into the air or horizontally, but you can also do it and like kind of you do like a belly slide penguin style. And then that like recharges, like I don't know if it's just based on time or maybe even based on like friction from being on the ground, and it shakes up the soda bottle. I'm not sure. Nice. But you can like keep boosting and boosting and boosting. Like I was like, my computer's gonna melt. I've never seen pixels run this fast on my computer ever. But I cannot describe to you, like the level design is just so immaculate. There's like these balloons that you can bounce into, and you're just like, again, at first, like I started this thought and didn't finish it, but like you start out, because you're this penguin, when you're not doing your dash or sliding or whatever, you do this little like chintzy like waddle, and you're like, I was like, oh man, these controls are wonky as hell, but like you're really not walking very often. You're just like dashing around and bouncing off shit every which way.
Like
and
Rocket Knight or
this
something.
This sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's very much Rocket Knight. Yeah, although I don't think you can do a diagonal dash.
Okay.
It's like the way the like little coin collectibles are laid out. I don't know if you use them for anything in like a shop. I didn't get to any point like that, but they're just like laid out to kind of like dictate, oh, here's where you can bounce off this balloon and do a double jump, like launch this way. But I just cannot. I was like gushing and beaming by the time I finished this demo. And because I had played some demos recently where I'd seen some clips, and I even talked about this on some Save It for the Cast, like this game called Windswept that's coming out, which is very Donkey Kong Country inspired. I had seen a bunch of clips of like the developer basically speed running levels of the game. So when I played it, I was like, oh man, this doesn't look as smooth, or it doesn't feel as smooth as I remember seeing it. But playing Soda Powered Penguin, I was like, man, I feel like just like the developer in these clips, I'm launching myself around. Even when I go the wrong way, I can kind of save myself. And that's kind of how I felt with Ando's game too, with Chibi Ninja.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I've been living in precision platformer paradise lately. Like I've played some others too, but man, the indie stuff I've been playing, the demos, I played the demo for Rain Boy, which is really fun. Like, oh man, just really almost too hard on that one, but really, really cool. Yeah, I don't know, but I just really cannot recommend Soda Powered Penguin enough. And the music had some Donkey Kong Country vibes in the best way, like underwater level Donkey Kong Country vibes. So I was like, ooh, this is just the perfect combination of everything I like about video games. So yeah, that was just the demo, and I was like, this is just unreal. So polished, so good. Just man, can't wait for that game.
Nice.
I like how it looks. That's cool.
Yeah, it's got like that purple blue kind of palette, but I got to like another stage that kind of had this like green kind of indoor cavern floral kind of look. I was like, man, there's some cool vibes in this game, and like all the checkpoints are like vending machines. And you have to like some of the collectibles are like bottle caps, so you have to get back to the vending machine to like deposit it to get the collectible, kind of like, you know, strawberry style with sauce. But you don't have to just get to safe ground. You have to bring it all the way back to a vending machine, which is cool.
I was gonna say what reminded me of that was that, or what you reminded me of when you were talking about that was, you know how the Nintendo Switch Online has Genesis games on it?
Yes.
Or Master System, or both. I don't know.
Just Genesis, I think. Yeah.
Okay. When are we going to get Sonic Advance on the Game Boy Advance?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to get that pulled off, right?
And then I can finally raise Chow on my Switch, fulfill the destiny of that system.
Yes.
Did they had the Chow Garden stuff on Sonic Advance?
You could raise the ones that you had you could upload them into Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube with the Game Boy Advance GameCube cable.
Nice.
Because that was the thing with the Dreamcast and the VMU in
it was
first, and then
they made a worse version of it.
That's
for
awesome.
on Nintendo.
Yeah, more tedious version.
It's so
jump through some more hoops to play with your
hardware
chows.
hoops. The best kind of hoops.
But it was I like maxed out my Chow on my copy of Sonic Advance. Like, oh my god, I love
that game. Was pretty. I liked that.
Those were all
Sonic
pretty cool.
Advance
Those
game.
and the Sonic Rush, like the portable Sonic games, were pretty cool. Like being a very mild Sonic fan, I always thought those were some of the cooler games in the series.
Yeah,
they were 2D ones
by nature smaller and like kind of they had level select as well. Which made it immediately so much more accessible to me.
Yeah. Did we lose Randall here? Oh, he's back.
My video froze.
Your video did freeze, but your voice was still there, so I was like, maybe it'll.
He knows what he's doing.
Maybe it'll solve itself.
Yeah. That'll probably happen though. I would not be surprised at all if Nintendo doesn't do that. That's on them for not reaching out to Sega and making that happen.
They seem like they have a pretty good relationship these days between like the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, and like they're not at odds anymore.
No.
So
I should pick up Frontiers at some point.
That's games I saw. It sold like 3 million copies, and like people really like it. Apparently,
it looked kind of fun.
It's like Breath of the Wild Sonic.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and it's great.
I'm thinking of a different one. I was thinking of that Lost Worlds one that kind of looked a little more like Mario Galaxy or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Lost World, yeah. But no, Frontiers, apparently people love that game.
Speaking of Ando was a decent fan.
Right.
Like I remember he was like, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. It seemed to be like that it was the most fun 3D like controlling Sonic that they've ever made. And then
the bar is a little low, but sure.
Yeah.
Yes. But and then it still had like the regular like 3D Sonic levels where that's going fast on a track or whatever, and like and like everybody's like that's the worst part of the game. Like the best part is just like being able to grind in the open world on your soap shoes.
Yeah.
Being Sonic instead of Link going around in Breath of the Wild world sounds pretty good.
Just jumping.
On principle.
Light speed
that doesn't
dash.
sound terrible, yeah. Even if you're just noodling around,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do in open world games. I barely play like them as intended, and I'm just like, what dumb stuff can I do?
Lots.
Give me a sandbox. I'll make my own fun.
You had mentioned what's it called? The Morph Cat game. Come on, brain.
Bobble?
Nope, the other one. Micromages.
Yeah.
And then I realized, they released that second quest in 2022, and that was last year. And I have that ROM, and I never booted it up. So then I don't know if
second quest of Micromages. That's right. That's right.
They released like more levels, and I'm like, my god, that was a thing that happened. Like
I totally forgot about that too.
I need to go back and do that. So thank you for that too.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Morph Cat. Love
amazing
those guys.
Amazing.
Yeah, I kind of want to get that. You got it, didn't you? That like Super Bat Puncher demo Famicom cartridge or whatever. Yeah. It's just such a cute cartridge.
Oh yeah, it's
even if it had nothing on it, I'd buy it.
Yeah,